Hey guys, this is Shane. I'm back. Hopefully I'll hopefully come back with a better with a more consistent back to the usual schedule. Anyway, right now I will cover Phantom Buster Overlord as promised, since there's new support. Uh, I'm doing a thing called national service. If you don't know, people in Singapore usually have to take serve for 2 years. But we do come back on weekends, so mostly. So I should be able to do videos. We'll see how. I'll try to make it work at least. So anyway, back to the more important thing, the ride line. So for our grade 0, we are running a full battle. This is kind of important, but not really. It's just for the Shadow Paladin name. But obviously we're running full battle because the Shadow Paladin, so we're running full battle, not Vanguard, because it'd be dumb. This one is kind of up to you guys. I run Tranquilla. You can run Javelin. I do not. I would. Javelin is pretty okay, but it's up to you guys. I run Tranquilla personally because I prefer it for this build at least. I prefer Tranquilla. Mainly because you reveal top 3 to filter a card. There's a great one, and I run quite a bit of great ones in this deck, so makes it nice. And then filtering is always nice, and you can fish up PGs and stuff. I'll show you how that works in this build. Next, I run Blaster Dark in the right deck. Even though this is hollow, this is hollow. So yeah, I got a hollow Blaster Dark, so it's quite nice. So the skill of Tranquilla top 5 to call a body. Why do you need the body? For Blaster Dark. So that next you'll Blaster Dark skill, which basically says counter blast 1, retire rear guard. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire that. And then you gain an additional drive, and then on rear it gains an additional 5,000 power, which is actually important because, but this is going to be the only Blaster Dark you run now because you will pretty much guarantee retiring Blaster Dark from rear at the end of battle anyway. So your opponent have like almost no chance to bind it, remove it, you know, etc, etc, etc. So the extra drive does matter. So on turn 2 you'll be attacking for twin drive, so that's a plus. So you filter and you drive check, so it's pretty damn good. Next, obviously our main boss unit is Phantom Blaster Overlord. We're gonna cheese the cross ride, but the cross ride only gives you an additional crit, which does help, by the way, but we don't need it. But we will use the skill, so don't worry. I'm a big fan of like trying to keep all the conditions active. Anyway, so the second skill is basically on attack, retire 2 rear guards, which is a little high, but we play around that. And then you call Blaster Dark to rear guard circle, and then if your opponent's grade 3 or greater, this unit and Blaster Dark gets you call Blaster Dark either from soul or drop, and then both gain 10,000 power if your opponent's grade 3. And since you retire rear guard, due to this continuous effect, it's also plus 5,000. So this will be 25, this will be 23 without Persona. So it's pretty good. Ideally, obviously, you'll soul blast this out in beforehand. I'll show you how to. I figure out how to get that to work so that we can, you know, have a bit more efficient soul usage. For our grade 3s, we run our Persona rides, of course, because Persona riding gives you better numbers and you need better numbers. We run 2 Phantom Blaster Dragons, which is the cheese cross ride. The skill is not really relevant, but basically the reason why we don't use it is because if Busho did say like, oh, you wrote this over Personas, then it'd be great, but it doesn't, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, you're nerfing yourself 3 attacks, so there's no point. Basically the skill is when placed on Vanguard circle, call Blaster Dark from soul to rear guard circle, which is like, then combat 1, retire 3 rear guards against 10,000 power in a crit. So instead of retiring 3, you retire 2, and you know you gain a crit and you gain an additional attack, so it's pretty useful. Our other grade 3s include 3 Nebula orders. I know this is expensive. Please try to get it. I got mine at an okay price. I'm not gonna say the price because if not, this video will age terribly. But this deck kind of needs it because I like consistency. So basically, the Nebula order states you can play from your drop, and when you play the order, you basically bind it, and then you look at the top 7 cards to call a rear guard that is the same grade or below your Vanguard, and it's a grade 3, so you can only play it in turn 3. It is the essence of Kita Ball, but that's the only thing here that's strictly expensive, I think. And then we run 4 of the Strife orders. Funny thing about my collection is, if you see the codes, one is the foil version, which is 1454, and then 1453 is the non-foil versions. I don't know how this happened. I want to go for foil, hopefully. We'll see how. But the essence of this is the most important card. Basically, the first effect says that if your Vanguard is Shadow Paladin, this counts as Shadow Paladin. Simple enough. And this unit is placed, you put a card into your soul, you draw a card, and then you basically gain 5,000 power. So it's an 18k beat stick. Usually you would just put Phantom Blaster Dragon Soul. You can search out any Shadow Paladin, so you have cards in here that fish out Shadow Paladins, that's why that matters. Which is such a buff compared to the old one. The old one you have to do a lot more. And then this one, now when you retire it, it counts as 2, and when it does get retired, you Energy Blast 3, you pick a Blaster Dart, and it doesn't even carry your opponent's grade anymore, so you can drive check on turn 2, which is very good. And then at the end of the battle, when it attack, after it drive checks, you basically retire it, so your opponent cannot like bind it and get rid of it or bot deck it or whatever, and then you shut down the whole deck. So that's why you run that. You want to see this as soon as possible because you can fish it back out later on, so you're fine. Well, grade 2. So that's it for the grade 3s. For the main deck grade 2s, we have 1 copy of Ace Unit, of course. You always have 3 extra energy minimum, if not 6, because if you go second. So this actually helps. Basically, on place, Energy Blast 3. You gain 5,000 power first. Then you Energy Blast 3, look at top 7, and then you just call a card, and then you pick 1 card with resist. Usually you pick this because the card you call is usually retire fodder anyway. But then the second effect is very unfortunate. So when it attacks against 5,000 power, your opponent's grade 3. Then the additional 5,000 power needs 4 different 4 air guards, which you will not have because remember you're retiring 2 for you call out Blaster Dart, but then Blaster Dart retires itself, so you only have 3. So you can't. So it's a 20k beat. So it's not as high, but like, it's okay for that. But other than that, it's Ace Unit. It spends energy instead of Count Blast, and it is just a consistency piece. It's cool. What more can I say? Now this is now we run the obvious cards first. I'll show you the obvious cards. Oops. We run 4 Undercover Daria. Now Counterblast is very free because you only use once per turn, because the only thing you use it on when you're on turn 3 is Blaster Dark. So you always have extra. So you can always use it on this. On play, the skill is basically on place. It doesn't matter from where. Counterblast on, look at top 5, and then you search for Undercover or Shadow Paladin. So if you see her, you can find her again. Or you can find Shadow Paladins, which if you the PR is a Shadow Paladin, your Phantom Blaster Dragon is a Shadow Paladin, your Persona is a Shadow Paladin. And I'll show you other options later on. Then when you attack, if your opponent is grade 3 and then you got a Shadow Paladin on Undercover, so +1 and gains 5,000 power, 10,000 power, sorry, not 5, 10. Your Vanguard is always Shadow Paladin. Wow, what a surprise. So naturally you run this. This is a Gota card. Get it for a good price, whatever. But it is I prefer this. I saw a friend run Kita Pile, but Kita Pile takes so much space, so I prefer toolboxing. That's what I'm saying. We run this guy. I cannot remember for the life of me his name. But basically, he's a very old card. Like, how old? Set 8. How old is Set 8, you might ask? Well, Set 8 is not that old, actually. Never mind. But it's Set 8. The skill is a very simple skill. You place it, you soul blast 1, you discard a card, and you get back a card. If you're Vanguard, you basically get a card with the same clan as your Vanguard, which in this case Shadow Paladin. What's the options? Grab back this, grab back this, grab back this. And I'll show you one more option, which I believe everyone should know what the option is, but nonetheless. And you're like, it's a great tool, you can't boost. It's retire fodder at the end of the day, so that's why I run more copies, because you can toolbox your drop back. And then you can drive track more. Yay! You can also get full ball, and that's why I say, like, if you run Javelin, it's better than Marin Wingle, because you can grab back Javelin, and it's a 10k booster. So it's quite useful in that sense. And the discard is not really a big deal, because for grade 1s, we run 4 Cocoa. Cocoa's skill, which is, if you don't know, basically one, you cannot have cards in your G zone to use this, and it has to be an encounter Vanguard. So because I run Tranquilla, you can't call this on turn 1, but you can call it on turn 2, so that's all that really matters. On plays, you put a card from your hand into solo at top 2, add 1 to your hand and 1 to the top card of your deck. If not, you put it to your soul instead. Pretty simple. So one of the funny things is, if you look at top 2 and you're like, one PG and one PVD. Oh wow, goes to soul anyway. Or you're PVD, and so you can put it in early, and then you can have the crit early, which is really good. And then if your opponent is grade 3 or greater, and if they check a trigger, it gains 10,000 power and shield. So it's a 15k shield or a 18k beater, a booster more specifically. It's pretty good in that sense because it ignores trigger power except for over trigger, obviously. So love it. We still keep the, no, I say as if I did a deck profile, no, but like we are running 4 Ordeal Dragons. Ordeal Dragon skill is basically 1 when you place it and you're either same grade or lower than your opponent's Vanguard. It gains, it looks at the top card of your deck, and then you can put it top and bottom either, and then it gains 2,000 power. It doesn't matter if you put it top and bottom, it still gains the 2,000 power. So keep that in mind, it's a 10k booster regardless. So the funny thing is, if you go first with and you call this from Tranquilla, you can't look at top card, but it's retire fodder. And if your opponent is grade 3, you can look at top card and then check more triggers. So it's pretty funny. Anyway, the second effect is when it sees you, if you discard a card this turn, energy plus 3, remove this card remove this card, and then you return, and then it gives you back the card. It's also rearguard or drop, so keep in mind you want to use the dragon from the drop as much as you can. I have almost never you often see this dragon enough that you often use the one in drop anyway, and this dragon will, and then the one on the rear will end up in drop. So keep that in mind. It costs 3 energy, but it's not a big deal because you're using the energy. You don't use that drop effect very often anyway. But the looking at top card is useful, so you know there's 8 cards that look at top card, so you don't need a filter because you can look at top card anyway. And then we run 1 copy of Cats for grade 1. Yeah, this is just, it's one-off because you can only use it once. Because if you need to remember, Blaster Dark is your right line, and if you remove that, you're screwed. So that's why. So basically, you call it the rearguard or guardian circle. Put 2 cards from your right line back to the deck, your right deck, either from soul or drop, and then If you play on rear, you look at top 5, then call a card the same grade or below, as long as during main phase. If not, you have to call it as rest, which is unfortunate. But the funny thing is, if you call this by Tranquilla, it has to be called as rest as well, so it kind of sucks. Anyway, it's also a 20k shield if you do that when you guard with it, so keep that in mind. Sorry, I'm a bit bloated right now. I don't know why. That's weird. Must be the milk. I don't know. And that's it for the grade 1 beat stick. Next we run Elementaria because we're still playing standard, and 3 Shadow Paladin PGs. Now, I don't own Luard, so it took me a while to get this. As you can see, it's a PR variant. 2, yes, I'm paranoid that 1 is a common foil and the other 2 is actually just foiled. Why are the Shadow Paladins? Doesn't matter. A, I like theming. B, it's Shadow Paladin. What does that mean? In essence, you can retrieve it back from drop with this. And because it's Shadow Paladin, you can search for it with this. So you can toolbox your deck pretty well as well. So you have more Shadow Paladin targets, so you can grab so you don't waste the counter blast. Next, for the triggers, we run 1 blue OT. You can run Kita, but there's no point anymore because you're no longer discarding cards for drive check for Blaster Duck, so it's kind of redundant. You're better off with the 100 mil, the crit, and the second additional effect, which is grab a card from your drop, which you can grab basically any card that isn't Shadow Paladin, so they can retrieve it for Shadow Paladin. You run 3 front triggers. You can run draws. I just prefer the more shield value and the reliability of fronts cheesing out 2 to plus attacks. Where they say 2 to plus, you check front. Oh wow, it doesn't matter anymore, and then you just check your second trigger and then they eat shit. We run 4 vanilla. We run vanilla crits all around because Blade Feather, I don't care. You can run it, but you don't need soul, so it doesn't matter. And you don't call it on rear anyway because you want shield value. Because if you've seen, we run a lot of grade 4s and our 4 vanilla heals. We could run encounter heals. I just don't feel like getting encounter heals. I'm lazy. Although in this current meta, you can run restanding one and the crit one. Those definitely help. Restanding is more common for... In this current meta, a lot of restanders, so you can use the restanding heal more. But the crit heals are more consistent because a lot more boss units, like, this guy, wow, inherent crit without triggers, are a bit more problematic, so keep that in mind. And effect fronts, because more shield value is better. You don't need soul fronts. You don't run out of soul because you don't eat that much soul. So that's the deck. I feel like I might be sounding a bit dull right now, but keep in mind, I'm not really dull. It's just I'm not trying to be too dull, but like this is. I'm just really reeling in from the recovery right now, from my work. Anyway, so hopefully I can. Obviously, as promised, Gensel will come out, etc. I'll try to make a fight video with this deck soon. But either way, this is the most fun I've had in a long time for encounter deck. I didn't really honestly, I was waiting for Bushido to come out this kind of PR in a while. Although I was hoping for one that cheats the crossfire like Phantom Blast, not Phantom Blast, Dragonic Overlord at the end. Instead, they give us this, which actually we do need this more than the jump ride, so yeah, fair enough. Nonetheless, thanks Bushiroad, you fixed the deck. You can I've been tinkering with this deck back and forth for a while, and this is the list I settled on. I wouldn't say this is the best list, but this is the more, I would say, more Shadow Paladin focus. If you're focused on just PBO being a multi-attack beat stick, you can go with the Kita Pao variant. I won't show the Kita Pao variant. I do have Kita Pao. You guys know I have Tefalt. I just don't have Selgaun because I'm an idiot. But I don't care for Selgaun because it feels like conflicts this deck a bit. because you need the rears to retire for other things more than drawing cards. But trust me, you'll deck out by turn 6 with this, because the consistency of grabbing this is absurd. Because you can grab it from drop so many times, you filter the deck pretty fast. You'll run out triggers and you'll run out everything very fast, so keep that in mind. So that's my deck profile for Phantom Blaster Overlord. Boy, do I like this. Like, as a kid, when I saw Aichi Rival Blaster Arc, it was like the best thing ever, because I was like, oh, it's the edgier blaster blade. And it didn't do much back in the day. They buffed it in V and then they brought it over to D, and then it did the same thing where it gains the additional drive, and I was like, oh, it's cool, I want twin drive on turn 2, it's cool, I'm practically a grade 3 on turn 2. But you know, because the extra 3k don't matter in math calculations. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Like, subscribe, obviously. I'll try to bring back my weekly upload schedule. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.